I said it before, I'll say it again. The world don't give a shit about you or me. We are not afforded the luxury of being average. Gotta work 10 times as hard just to get anywhere. I don't push you because I want to. I push you because I have to. Do you hear what I'm saying, son?
Hello, listening people.
Hello.
Hello, Bartek. How are you doing?
Doing well, Ryan. How are you doing, Ryan?
I'm doing great. I'm very happy to be here. We're getting closer to the midway point of the year now. Isn't that crazy? It's just flying by.
Yeah, it's crazy.
We've just been so busy in our lives, and it's just, I feel in a good way for myself. I'm looking back and I'm like, wow, just so much has been going on. And when it comes to just our podcast, this has been a really fun year just because we've been going through so many different types of movies, and with our theme this year on our show, we've been trying to cover movies that have come out since the podcast, and that's been like delightful in a different way because it's like we know the theme roughly, and how much of it will be each one of us knows the other person's filmography timeline. I'm like, oh, of course, Bartek, you did miss out on Grimsby. Now here it is. Like I should have seen Grimsby on the way. And things like that.
It's interesting. We have very different backgrounds with this 10, 11-year period because you have seen a lot of movies and I haven't. So I was walking in like, oh man, a lot of my picks are going to be like, Oscar contenders and stuff like that I've heard about. And yours are going to be like, oh, the ones that I actually missed out on, which is not as many as you, Bartek.
Yeah, well, it's very different too because I would say at the beginning of our podcast experience, you were going to the cinema more than I was.
Oh, yeah. I was getting invited a lot.
Yeah, you got invited a lot. But let's get into it. We're doing Pictures Powwow, in which we talk about a movie that has come recommended. This time round, it was a movie that I recommended. And then next episode will be a listening people's suggestion. So that's right, you listening can recommend movies to us. We add them to the list. They can be new or old, as long as we can find a copy. And even then, sometimes we can't find them immediately. We put them on the list, and who knows, in a matter of a week or a year, or who knows how long, we will be able to find them. We always keep looking. So if you have a film suggestion, hit us up on the social medias or our email. All of that's in the description. And of course, after the listening people, we loop back to Bartek, who you did our last episode's film recommendation. Now we're doing mine. And so we go around and around and around. And
we never break the cycle.
Never.
It's never even occurred to us to do it.
Never even occurred once. Don't do it, not once.
Not once. Even when it was an anniversary episode, we still squeezed in something relevant.
We squeeze it in, and today I recommended the 2019 film Waves, the Trey Edward Schultz film, the director, and there's I don't even know where to begin with this, because in terms of my recommendation, I recommended this purely because I didn't know anything about it. I knew the director, yet I've never seen any of his movies until this, but he's been on my radar, and so I was like, okay, Waves seems different to what he usually does, because from what I understand, even after this, Trey Edward Schultz dabbles more in horror, or maybe not like spooky direct horror, but definitely that air of thriller, suspense, terror, dread, but with a real existential quandary. And then there's Waves, where you look at the poster and it's like two people embracing on a park bench near a beach, and it's like got this beautiful color to it, and you're like, oh, this doesn't look like that filmmaker, so I wonder what the deal is here. And so if I have to give a description of this movie to sell people on it, what would it be? Bartek, do you have something succinct?
Well, we'll say right off the bat that, like, one way of giving a synopsis of this film would be to spoil what happens halfway through. So if we were to avoid doing that, I think the best way would just be to say, what happens in like the beginning part of the film, which is that we are following this black family, specifically the son of the family, who is a wrestler, and he, high school wrestler, and he's like doing well. He's going to get a scholarship, but he has a severe injury in his shoulder that he wants to fight through, even though the doctor tells him, like, this is like the worst shoulder injury you can possibly have. Like, you gotta recover and tell people about this. And the fact that he's fighting through it, you know, obviously puts him in a stressful position, and then other stuff in his life go wrong, and you kind of see, you know, what happens as a result of this, like, down spiraling.
Exactly right. Dealing with a lot of repression in this movie, and just bottling it up, and the anxiety just builds and builds and builds and builds. I did not know that for a start, so that's something fun. Well, the last film recommendations I had, I said, oh, this is Panic Attack the movie. Waves knocks at the door and says, settle down, climax. Let us have a go on that train of thought.
In the climax episode, I talked about how, like, yeah, I wasn't stressed by it. I was just really fascinated by it. And there was a part in this film, a segment of this film where I'm like, this one's actually getting to me.
So everyone, make sure to give this a watch. It's beautifully shot, wonderfully acted. It's a grounded drama as well, so it's quite a lot to take in. So please give this a watch. I think this will hit for a lot of people. It definitely worked for me. As I stated, in terms of my history, I recommended this partly because I wanted to fill this in. I wanted to see this director. I wanted to see the work of his that's been the most critically lauded, but also seems different to what he has done previously. I'm sure that there's a lot of the same traits involved. From what I said last week, his feature film debut had his mother in it as the lead actress. She appeared in this movie as the English teacher who said carpe diem, so that's kind of fun. So there's going to be little recurring things. Even the lead actor, the one who plays the son, is in previous movies of this director. So, like, I'm sure there's all of these little things.
He's got his own stable.
I don't know. So I wanted to check out Waves because it looked like an interesting drama about a young person struggling, but it's shot with this gorgeous color palette. Everything I saw, every still, every poster, every image of this movie that I saw just appealed to me. I just liked the look of the movie. And so all of these, you know, grand-minded reasons for picking it, but really, I wanted to see a good-looking movie, like a visually good-looking movie, and I just had Waves on my watch list for the longest time, and yet never really learned about what the plot was, what the tone was, what the genre was. I just kind of knew that this was going to be a more somber affair. But even then, I was still very surprised with how the emotions were in this. I thought this was going to be more of a coming-of-age film, and it is. Boy, it is, but in a way that's very different.
Not even like in a funny way. It is a coming of age story, despite what happens.
It's just the way it's told.
Yeah. So I was more blind than you. Like, I knew the director's name because I'd heard it, and you explained a couple of things about him last week. You described the poster, and I obviously saw the poster as I was acquiring this film. I had the film open, ready to start it, and I was like, you know what? I'm a little too blind. Let me at least see what the genre is.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just Googled, like, Waves 2019 and just looked at whatever, like, the results were, and it just said romance sport. And as you can tell from your reaction, Ryan, that it's not exactly the most accurate branching off point for wondering how this film's going to go.
Those two things are in it.
Those two things are in the film for sure, but I was focusing more on the sports thing. So I was like, oh, okay, this is going to be a sports movie. And it starts off with, like, you know, guys training and like, okay, he's a wrestler. This is going to be like a wrestling story. We're going to follow the career of this young man and the romance that he has. It's going to be like a Rocky or something like that. When the film started, I obviously got the A24 logo. So I'm like, okay, this is going to be heightened in some way.
Artsy.
Yeah. And so it's very funny having now watched the film that, you know, romance and sport was the only thing I knew. And yeah. I guess at this point,
I would say romance is definitely key of this movie. Sports is a framework.
Yeah, romantic drama, romantic coming of age story as well. But yeah, I guess at this point, spoilers,
full spoilers, and the other genre again, spoilers, tragedy.
Yes. The proper synopsis is that the first half of this film is following the wrestler character that we talked about, his downfall, his relationship with his pregnant girlfriend taking a tragic end where he accidentally kills her, gets sent to prison, and he is no longer the main character. We are now following his sister, and we're seeing like the downfall of, you know, life after this incident has happened, and how the family, the parents are, you know, they're not breaking up, but like they're
faltering.
Yeah, they're faltering. They're distancing themselves.
The pressure, yeah.
They're buckling under the pressure. And the sister is kind of in this repressed mindset, but finds a nice boy, and kind of, you know, reinvigorates herself through getting along with him.
It is an amazing film. Beautiful film. Daring film. It has two halves. It takes that turn and the main character leaves, and there's very little ceremony in it. It's very brutal. And then we get a new lead character who's one that's already been in the film, but now she gets a prominent spotlight, the younger sister. And it's divisive by its very nature. I was disheartened when I gave a quick glance at just Letterboxd. I just went Letterboxd and I was like, oh, this is a very well-received movie. Just all these top reviews are, I don't mean to be mean, but garbage. Fucking garbage reviews. Terrible reviews. Just one of the big reviews, who's from a big YouTuber as well, was just like, I don't know if I like the movie or if I just like the music. And then when we get in the second half, it has less of the music, and I know for a fact that I just like the music. I'm like, oh, fuck off. Like, I can see people not liking this movie because the pace of it goes from one extreme to the other. The first half, ratcheting up. It just gets crazier and crazier. You're getting more stressed out. You're getting into that main character's headspace of just spiraling and staggering around and throwing yourself. And then you hard cut to a serene, picturesque drama of a family who don't know what to do.
Yeah.
And I can understand that critique very much, but
you can easily see it being a case of like the ending of the first half is kind of the climax of the film.
But I loved it. I really liked this movie. I was moved by it. I found all of the characters very intricate and understandable and flawed, and I was, my film brain was waiting for certain things to happen, and then they didn't happen. One of the big examples being the daughter character gets a boyfriend in the second half of the movie, and I was waiting for a sinister turn from this character, and there isn't. It's just a nice story.
With how you know, tragic that first half ended, you are kind of on edge waiting for like, oh no, what else is going to go wrong? And, you know, with spoilers are off, nothing else really does go wrong. Yeah. It is really just seeing like the aftermath and how they kind of find a light again.
The first half is tragedy and the second half is healing. Yeah. That's what it is. And as you stated, most of the times that's the climax, the tragic thing. Oh my God, the downfall, and then we move on. But then we just spend like an hour basically just in the aftermath and just healing, and that's its own type of movie. These type of movies too. But I like the division. I liked the symmetry and the mirroring that this film was playing with, and selfishly too, I wasn't surprised when it switched to the sister's point of view, because she was my favorite performance in the movie, even before the second half, because she kept stealing every scene she was in, and yet she was always backgrounded in the first half of it. But she had such a screen presence and just such a warmth to her as a character that every scene she was in, I was drawn to her. So then when it was like, now it's about her, I had that gratification of like, great, I was already drawn to this character, so this is working for me. I'm already in the wavelength of this movie. I'm here for it. So
with me, I didn't know that obviously the twist was coming, but as it was happening, like, you know, we get the courtroom scene. We don't get like a frontal view of our up till then main character, and like
all we see is his hair is changed now.
Yeah, and we see him being led away from behind, and we focus on like the family of his family and the family of the victim of the crime he committed. And then it cut to, I think, another character running. I think it was the girl. And it was at that point that I'm like, oh, are we doing like a new protagonist kind of thing? I like where this is going. because it just completely opened up the avenue of where the story can go from here. At first, it was like, oh, are we going to see prison life and like the redemption, what he like life lessons that he
atonement,
learns.
yeah.
But no, it is just about like the wake of his crime, and like you get all these nice scenes of like the nice as in like well made, I mean, scenes of like the family breaking apart. You got the sister on Instagram looking at photos of the victim of the crime,
reading all the comments.
Like there's the two photos, one of just her and her friends where it's like, oh, beautiful girl, save a place up there in heaven for me, and then photo of her with her former boyfriend, where they're just calling him like a monster and like evil, one less bastard walking among us, and obviously like what he did completely reprehensible, and he like deserves the ostracization. But we followed him for like an hour. We know like the full context of him, so there's this like tug of war happening between like, yeah, he deserves this, and also, but like, oh,
the father summed it up beautifully. He's not a monster, he's a human. That's what that tug of war is. Like, we want to vilify, we want to make people who do heinous things like this monsters, but we spent the first half of the movie seeing how deeply human this character was. And so when we see him commit this act, it's relatable but horrifying at the same time. It's not just a random act of violence from a monster. It's a random act of violence from a kid with the body of a killing machine, basically. That was one of the most haunting things to me early on too, was we get this sequence with the coach.
Yeah.
And they're doing this mantra, I'll just say this. Sports culture, but also American culture mixed with sports culture is scary to me. Everything I see of it, everything I hear of it, this type of like weird chanting bullshit, don't like it. And when a movie like this frames it just so offhandedly, I knew it was like, oh, this movie's going to make it feel like sinister later, and boy, does it.
It actually took me a little while to realize that I was watching like a high schooler movie in high school. I thought it was like the basic training, like Full Metal Jacket. Yeah. I was like, oh yeah, military drills. Like, why aren't they singing like the military cadence? They're just saying a mantra. It's like, no, these are high school wrestlers.
Yeah.
The girls that they're looking like, cheerleading and stuff.
It's very strange, but did you enjoy this movie? How are your feelings about it?
Yep, I've been avoiding giving my feelings, and there's no reason for that. I love the film as well. This was really, really good time.
So tell us a little bit more about your viewing experience. You said you went in blind. You had the, is this sports and romance? But eventually, after a certain point, you realize that that's not going to be the focus.
Yeah, when the injury was introduced, I thought like, oh, this is what the film's going to be about, like living with this either chronic injury or like, the downfalls of like, he's going to get worse and worse physically. Like I thought this was going to be like a health degradation film as well. And part of me, because obviously I've had injuries in the past that I needed surgery for. I've had 2 spine surgeries, everyone. I thought part of your reasons for picking this was like, oh, Bartek, you'll relate to this. I'm like, oh.
I thought about that when I was watching it. I was like, oh, Bartek will relate to this.
Yeah. The good thing for me is that I am not an athletic person, so I didn't need to keep doing things.
Well, your first spinal injury, you needed to keep
the first
doing
one we had
a play that required physical things.
Yeah, we had the final drama degree performance, and I've uploaded that on YouTube, and you can see me bent at the middle.
And you were young at that time,
21.
And then it's that thing of like, in your case, in comparison, so our main guy, Tyler, he knows exactly what's wrong, but he refuses to admit it because he has no reason to exist outside of his physical prowess. Like,
yes.
To him, he has expectations put upon him. He has to be a certain way. His father drills it into them, like they aren't going to be living the easy life. You have to work hard, and a part of that is to be a physical apex. So that is different. Like he's objectively like aware of what's going on and refuses to admit to that. In your case, though, it was that funny thing of like, we, your friends, could see how physically fucked you were, and you were like, "I'm fine, like I'm treating it. It's on its way to da da da." And then when you know, a while later saw the footage, you would say to us in a shocked tone, "Wow, I really didn't know that. I was like hunched like that," or like I think one time you said, "I really look like a question mark," just like wow, and we were all like, "Oh yeah." Oh yeah, because you were in it.
Yeah. I still remember after both surgeries when I would walk around the house normally, like, have I grown taller?
Mm-hmm.
I remember you would always do like the joke of like, oh, they had to take out part of your disc, so you technically got shorter. It's like, I feel so much taller.
Yeah, exactly. But there was that when I was watching this, I was like, oh, I'm sure Bartek will relate to this on some level of like the physical body letting you down and the idea of like, but I can't stop what I do normally, because if I do, then I have to admit to failure and or change.
Yeah, the second time I had the injury, that was the one where it took me a very long time to just admit it. And I still remember we were doing the podcast during that part, obviously. And I would always be sitting here and usually fine. But I remember one episode in particular. It was the episode that we did with the Picture This Guys, the George Miller film, The Witches of Eastwick. We were having a lot of fun in that episode, making a lot of jokes, but I remember distinctly like having to like constantly like readjust because I was in a bit of pain.
Yeah. It's this movie is very immersive because they're presenting us a family that may not be applicable to you or I. Like, they're a black family, that does matter in the context of the film.
Yes.
They are a rich family as well. Like, they are financially well off. They live in a nice place. Yeah. Money is brought up as an issue, but like...
They're rags to riches also.
Yes, they're rags to riches. And they're also like there's a stepmother figure, and there's this kind of dichotomy of just like they believe her, they see her as their mother, but then when they choose not to see her that way. That's a whole family dynamic that exists as well.
Yeah, that
may be applicable to you or I, and or not. And like, these are the things that's like really nuanced and really great. But the brilliance of this movie is it wraps you into this world, into this family, into their headspaces, that you feel it, you relate to this, you are totally understanding of all of these things that, you know, on surface level may not feel like they matter to you. Like, I'm not like this, my family's not like this, but you are just so into this that when Tyler keeps fucking up, like he makes all of the wrong choices, there's such a believability to it that it doesn't feel like a PSA. To me, like, this film could easily come across as what we discussed with Another Round, where Another Round, like, it's funny, but there was a level of like, it's a little bit of a well-made PSA, and I didn't feel that when I was watching this movie, because my anxiety was just through the roof. I was just like, oh my god, stop doing this. But I was also like, fuck, I know that if I was in his spot, or if I was that age, or I know people who done this, and oh my god, just stop. And you're like, but also you can't stop, can you? You got to keep going, because if you stop, your dad's going to give you the evilest stare in the universe. Like, you are unable to stop.
It's funny. 2.5 weeks ago, I watched the Michael movie, and putting quality of the film aside, that film also had like a stern black father figure character that was basically like the antagonist of the film. And the energies were just so different from like that performance to this one. Whereas that one was a bit more loud. This one was a bit more like cold and quiet and like directed.
And again, not to shit on the Michael movie, but this film understood something too, which is the dad is an abusive person. Not just a cartoon monster. But in all fairness, Joe Jackson was a cartoon monster in real life, so I don't know.
Yeah, I've seen the Louis documentary.
He was a pretty bad guy. But this film, they really is immersive and inviting. And that's really what sold me on the second half of the movie as well, was I was already bought in on this family. I already knew that the dad, for instance, there was more to him. Like, I felt like being able to shift the focus on seeing him have a more vulnerable side, seeing him realize that he was at fault for things, didn't feel incongruous to the first half of the movie, because Sterling K. Brown's performance gave you little shades of that in the first chunk of the movie. And I just thought, this is a film of honesty. and I was really enamored by it.
I remember in that second half, one of the scenes is the one where he's arguing with his wife, and it's the one where she's like, "Can you let me grieve in my own way?" And he just, was kept talking to her. And me as an audience member, I was realizing, dude, you just need to be quiet right now. Just listen. Just let there be some quietness. And then from that point on, he is kind of quiet for the rest of the film, mainly because we don't really see him that much. But then eventually, long after that scene, you get probably the best scene in the film where he sits down with his daughter.
So good, it's the poster.
Was that the poster?
That's the poster. It's him and the daughter.
Oh,
that's him and the daughter
I need to
embracing.
Have another look at that. For some reason, I thought that was the
son.
I thought that was the park bench that's like in the middle of the water.
It's blurring the two. So It's the park bench that him and the daughter are sitting on in that embrace, but it's the sea where the son and the girlfriend are. It's a blurring of the two.
Right, yes, it is.
Don't you worry, buddy. When I saw that scene play out, the park bench scene with the daughter and the father, I realized, oh my God, that's the poster. I thought it was the son and his girlfriend, but then you look at the poster.
Yeah, I just did.
Dark hair.
You are absolutely right.
Yeah, it's so good that it's the poster of the movie. That's how good of a scene it is of the father opening up to the daughter about how he doesn't know how to handle things.
Yeah, just the emotional vulnerability he shows in that scene was just stellar.
Amazing. Sterling K. Brown, I'm a little less familiar with. What I am familiar with is more of his comedic work, but he's a dramatic actor. He's in a bunch of stuff. I think he was in Black Panther. He's one of those guys that's been in numerous amount of things, but just the small sliver I've seen has been a bit more comedic. And I even got that at the beginning of the movie with him and Tyler, the way that they're working out and the way they're throwing insults and jabs at each other. Yeah, the arm wrestling, or even his introduction of just like, hey, son, there are more words that you can say in a sentence, right? And just,
to your father.
To your father. And just the way he said it is just like such a comedic line delivery. I was like, that's why they got Sterling K. Brown. He's great. And then the film reveals, oh no, he's also fucking jacked. So don't you forget that. That's important. His dad is more jacked than him, the son, who's already ludicrously shredded.
They thoroughly establish he's got a knee injury, but he's so jacked you kind of forget about it.
Yeah.
And then there's eventually...
He pushes through it.
And then there's eventually a point where the son, pushes him. It's like the start of the whole climactic part, and he goes down instantly. It's like, oh, this guy, his presence didn't quite match the reality of his body.
It's such a well-paced movie for me. I think that with how go the first half of it is, when we're following Tyler, you need that break. You need a breather. You need to take in the actual gravity of the situation, because the girlfriend and Tyler, we never really get to have intimate moments with them. They're implied intimate moments. We see he has pictures of her, they text each other, but when we see them, for the most part, it's when they're at that fraught point because she's pregnant and he doesn't know how to handle that, while other things in his life he doesn't know how to handle either. Or he refuses to handle.
There's calms before the storm where she's talking about missing periods, but at that point it's not confirmed oh, this is a thing that I'm pregnant.
And this actress, she gives such a great performance. When you see her in the before and after of trying to get an abortion, there's such a realism to her character, but then she's just killed just like that, and the camera lingers on it but also snaps away and moves on. And to stop and say, okay, this is no longer about him. We need to...
This is no longer about sport.
This is no longer about sport. This is no longer about my future. All of that's gone now because a woman got killed by him. And we're going to see how that looks now, how that changes everything. And I come back to, there's an honesty, there's a respect, there's just an immersion into this world, because we're in our 30s, and this is a film about teenagers struggling to understand their place, but we remember what that was like, and we can also see it from the adults' point of view in this movie as well, of they also don't know where their place is in the world, and they look at their children and they're more stressed out because they need their children to be figured out. So that way they feel like they have figured out things.
You've got that scene where the dad confronts Tyler, when he's doing homework or he's doing the job. And he gives him the whole, like, look, you've got it better than I did when you were a kid. Like, why can't that be enough for you? And it's just this thing of, like, he's got a point, but also that doesn't mean that you're automatically in a great place.
No.
Tyler's clearly got stuff going on in his life, even beyond, like, the injury he's not admitting to yet.
What did you feel about the visual style of this film? Both of us as first time with this director, but I think it's pretty fair to say that they have a distinct look to how they want to shoot their movie.
The part that stuck out to me the most was the climactic part of the first part, where Tyler is, he's drunk, he's gone to the party. It is this, like, moody nighttime setting, but also with all these, like, party lights blaring, and the camera. It was kind of reminding me again of not just the fact that it was making me uncomfortable, but like Climax, where the camera in that kind of was a little bit drunk as well, like wobbling around. You've got, like, it wasn't like a one shot thing throughout the whole house, but it kind of felt like that. You're following behind Tyler for a lot of it.
Lots of steady cam handheld aesthetic in the movie.
Yeah,
too.
A lot of focusing on things by just the camera turning to it rather than, like, cutting to it. The strobe lights also was kind of stressing you out, because, you'd have these, like, little blank instant moments of, like, just complete blackness. You can't see his expression. Then he's back and it's slightly different, and it's inherently jarring.
I thought the repeated use of the spinning camera was really effective. We open on that. We're in a car and the camera is just spinning around and around and around as they're driving. And it's fun, and there's vibrant lighting, and they're listening to music, and he's got his foot out the window of the car, and they're kissing. But because the camera is spinning, we aren't getting enough visual information, and so there's a panic. There's like, is he going to crash this car? Is this movie going to open up with him getting into a car accident?
Oh, yeah.
They're being so reckless. They're being so irresponsible, and that gets used again and again in the movie, and it brings different moods with it each time that they use it. Like, by the time we mirror that sequence with the sister and her boyfriend in the car, and we're doing the spinning around with that as well, there's almost like a sense of closure when it's done with that version of it. Like, I'm not feeling anxiety, I'm not feeling dread, I'm feeling like this is a whirlwind of love type of use of it. But something that I really was thinking about as the credits rolled was the way that the film was very visual in its storytelling. Like, there is dialogue. I mean, we have a beautiful speech from the dad and whatever, but so much of it to me was given through just how the camera would tell the story. And even the end credits, where the end credits are just like these different colored lights, and we're just kind of, having these warm colors, almost like a rainbow type effect.
Very reddy, bluey, purpley.
And it kind of bleeds into the sister and the boyfriend create their own little rainbow, but it also does mirror a bit the neon color palette of Tyler in his final moments in the movie, where he's running around this house, but now it's a much lighter hue of that. And it's like a blending of how both of these characters have gone on this journey.
The police sirens,
all of that. There's so much use of light in this, but what I really like in terms of like visual presentation is the camera, the way it's used is in the headspace of both characters. So in the first half, we get this amazing tracking shot of of us going through the school and us going through like the changing rooms, and you see the showers, and you see the camera like quickly like do a hard pan to the right and look at like a random person in the shower, and then it's like, oh wait, now I've got to go back here and keep walking along. And that is so Tyler, where it's not like he's ADHD or whatever, but it's like he's panicked, he's distracted, he is easily prone to emotion. So the camera movements, the editing style, it is so in that headspace. And then when we go to his younger sister, it becomes completely different when it comes to that. We change aspect ratios at a certain point as well, when to emphasize how things have changed, how things are much more stark and closed off. And I don't even remember when the aspect ratio changed back again.
Yeah, I was reading that apparently it like slowly changes over the course of the film.
I'm going to be shocked.
I'd be interested to see it again. I do remember there was one cut somewhere where I'm like, oh, why are we suddenly in 4:3? I think maybe it was like
It's when
the death happens.
That's when the
maybe?
death happens.
Yeah, but I don't know if it was like leading to that and I only just noticed it then, or if it was like sudden.
It's a hard cut. As soon as she hits the ground and we cut back to him looking, it's 4:3.
Yeah.
It really gives you a sense of like, in a weird way, this is reality now. Like the lighting feels different. Everything's closed off. There's an amazing shot of like the dad later when he's driving in the car afterwards, and you barely have him in the frame because it's so closed. And I'm like, oh, this is uncomfortable.
The thing I was reading was like, oh yeah, they wanted to make it look like they were boxed in, like their world has gotten so much smaller. Then at the end of the film, when we're back to the wider one, it's, they've healed and, things are looking up a little bit.
Oh, very much. She's on her bicycle and you get this wide frame and there's just so much space as she's traveling forward. There's a future for her. There's prosperity. There's stuff ahead. There's color. There's sunshine. There's rainbows. It's wonderful stuff.
I remember I mentioned the police sirens thing before. There's a part somewhere in the second half of the film where it's got nothing to do with what's happening. As far as I remember, it's got nothing to do with what was happening, but like, they were driving by some police sirens and you had that like, siren lighting effect. And it just brings you back to like the climax of Tyler's story where it's like, oh, I could imagine that, these characters could be triggered by police lights now.
She was driving back home from dealing with her boyfriend's father, and it was her driving back.
Oh, that was right at the end.
It's her driving back to her story now. She went on this little side adventure to escape her feelings, to escape her situation, and in so doing, she's found a new context. But visually speaking, that's the reminder of like she's driving back to what the trouble is, and these sirens are just, again, evoking that because she was there too for that, as she mentions in her conversation, like the responsibility, the guilt of not having done something. But she reconciles that by the end in her way. It's not like a full 180, but, you get this sense of gradual change in her. And there's just a lot in this movie just to sink one's teeth into for what I thought was going to be a fairly simple film premise. Like when it started, I was like, oh, okay, so this is going to be about a young man who's going to fuck up his life because he has an injury and he doesn't want to admit it. And then there's all of these traumas of repression, of male ego, masculinity, toxic masculinity. Him and his father have this thing going on. He's worried about becoming a dad himself and he's ill-equipped for it. And I was like, okay, I know this type of movie. I'm in this type of movie. I got it. I'm in it. And then he accidentally kills his girlfriend. And I was like, oh, okay. I was not expecting this turn of events. But it all makes sense. Like, not to say like there's, I guess there's me saying there's something wrong with this, but there's a scene early on where we see him shirtless and he's running on track with his like squad of mates and whatever, and he's so muscular, and I'm like, he's a high school student, and I just found it very perturbing. I'm like, oh, I don't like this. And the movie agreed. They're like, it is weird, right?
And this was before we saw the dad, right?
Yeah, this is before everything else. And you're like, it is weird, right? That this person who's still yet to become an adult has the physical prowess of like a killing machine, and they could literally push you over and kill you.
If the film,
it is scary.
If the film could talk to you, it's like, you're right. Let's see why this is the case.
Yeah, and that was very surprising. Like, I understood it with the tensions between father and son, but then when he pushes over his girlfriend and she dies, I didn't question it because I'm like, oh, he is strong enough to have physically just pushed you over. You probably crack your head and die.
Yeah, pushes his father over, pushes her over.
Yeah, it's a lot. I mean, how did you feel about that switch up in that way of Tyler making this type of action of killing his girlfriend even through accident?
As a film watcher, I was like, ooh, where could this go from here? Like, again, I'm watching the romance sport film. There's no way this film can be a sport film now. And even then, they kind of tease it a little bit because in the second half we meet the Lucas character, and he mentions he's on a wrestling team. So
We
I'm
saw
like,
him earlier.
yeah, there you go. Yeah, if I rewatch the film, I'm like, oh, Lucas, you were there all along.
Yeah,
Spoilers. I liked Lucas, but we'll get to him soon.
he's great.
Yeah, I again, similar to when I realized that we're switching protagonists, it's like, yes, good film development, plot development, subversions. This is well done.
It was very well done. So, her boyfriend, Luke, he's played by Lucas. That's why
Sorry, I got
said
it mixed up.
Lucas Hedges, who we've seen in a few things. You may not remember, but he was one of the main characters in Manchester by the Sea.
Yeah,
so there you go.
My favorite film that I was in the cinema for.
Maybe one day you'll recommend it on the pod.
I do remember, I always talk about like, oh, I wake up and I remember like 2 bits, and one of them was like a father and a son driving in a car, and he must have been the son.
He's the son.
Yeah.
So Luke is this young man who comes into the sister's life, and he's charming, he's sweet, he's nerdy, he's interested in her, he's genuinely connecting with her, but he also has some baggage in his family life that he doesn't want to grapple with. But she's like, you should, because I can't with mine, so I'm gonna get you to do it with yours. But we do meet him in the first half. So after Tyler gets the diagnosis about his shoulder, we cut to him in an intense wrestling match where he beats he basically in an intense wrestling match in their training area.
Yeah.
And he like intensely beats one person up, and like they're bleeding from their mouth, and like
Luke
what
does?
Tyler. And it's Lucas. It's Luke.
Oh, he's wrestling Luke.
That's Luke. And so that's why I had that extra thing in my brain where I was like, oh, is this some kind of revenge plot with Luke? Because he got beat the fuck up by Tyler
I didn't remember
in wrestling. So I was like, oh no.
Yeah, I didn't remember that, but the fact that he mentions he's on the wrestling team, and on their first date he mentions like, yeah, I knew your brother. Like the very subtle, like, yeah, I knew. Mm-hmm. It's like, okay, is there something to this then?
But thankfully there isn't. He's just a nice person who is... He's very
sweet. He's very comfortable in living in his feelings. Like, there's many parts where, like, he learns something new about her that, like, might be a bit sad. Like, oh, my grandparents are dead, or this or that. And he's like, oh, shit, I'm sorry to hear that. And it's like, oh, yeah, he's visibly showing, like, his surprise, and he's, like, giving, some quick condolences. But it feels genuine. It doesn't feel like an act of, like, oh, I have to stay on your good side, so now I have to be nice about this thing.
He has so much in common with Tyler, but so different. Both of them have abusive, toxic fathers, but one version was to an extreme in a certain direction that pushed the son away from, while with Tyler, the type of toxic relationship that his father had was one that brings you in closer and keeps you there. Because with Tyler's dad, like, there is this level of like, I'm doing this because I care.
Yeah, he's always giving the speeches about family.
Yeah, I'm doing this
again,
for you.
similar to Michael, but
I'm doing this for you. While with Luke's father, it was much more of a pushing away, like treating you like other. I don't care about you, like a drunken, abusive beating of the wife, deadbeat dad. But it's still that similar thing. And with Luke, he's pushed in the opposite direction of like, I'm not interested in like ideal masculine stoicism, but he still engages with stuff like he's in the wrestling team. He's not, and he's going to flirt with the cute girl and whatever, but he's much more open as a person. While we see with Tyler, he's much more closed off because he's unable to open up, because every time he opens up, there's a reinforcement not to do it. While with Luke, he has none of that. If anything, we're shown that it's reinforced that it's good to open up, and he kind of helps let the daughter see that this is something too. It's like, hey, our relationship, let's do this, let's do that. And then he talks about his dad, and in the end, he's okay to go visit his dad. He has this great emotional experience. There's also another part of me where was like, oh, we're going to have the scene where he's like, this is too much for me. You've pushed me into this. I didn't want, or she was going to be like, this is my fault. I shouldn't have pushed you. None of that.
Yeah, I thought that that's where the film was going, because like he's established like, oh yeah, my father, deadbeat dad, like I want nothing to do with him.
He's got cancer. He probably deserves it.
Yeah, and that's that. That's how some families are. And they had the scene where they're in the bathtub together, and it's like you should see him, and like he's very put off by it. And even I was like, oh, I think Emily, I think you're going too far with this. This isn't a good idea. But it really works out in the end, because when he sees his father, there is like a connection there. Like we didn't have the full story of these two. There is, some tenderness to them, and the father, for all we see of him, is a very like gentle soul. And so I saw the mirroring of Tyler and that dad character.
Yes.
I've already talked a little bit about how we knew Tyler's story. So when he did the monstrous thing, we had his back in a little way, where it's like, it's because of all of these circumstances. He himself is not the type of person that would premeditated, like murder this person. Whereas with this dad character, we only had the hearsay. And so when we do meet him, we start to see like, oh, there is more to this guy.
Yeah.
And it was brilliant.
It's interesting what we can give in terms of parallels, because the film wants you to. This film structure is surprisingly playful in that way, which you're not thinking of when it starts off and it feels like we're in a Safdie Brothers movie where it's like, oh my God, this character is cranked up and they're taking drugs and their life's falling apart, and they just think, I can just keep barreling forward. That will work out. It will all work out for me. I was very moved as well that we do get to see Tyler again near the end. Like we could see him in jail, and he's there, and there's no dialogue. It's just all shown to us, and we don't even get the scene. We get the tease of it, but the scene of like the only person to go visit him in jail is the mother, who he's like, you're not my mother.
Yeah.
We don't see anyone else go to visit him. We don't see the dad. We don't see the sister. It's just the mother's going to do it because she's his mother, even though he's like, you're not my mother, you're not my biological mother.
She's very insistent that she is, so it shows her emotional investment.
What did you think about the mother? We've talked about the other members of the family, but she's very prominent in this as well. She's the one that feels the most like helpless, even though she is an authority figure.
Yeah, I don't know. I kind of missed the fact that she was a stepmom until like the big fight, so it did kind of throw me off. Yeah, she was. I liked her. I think I just gravitated more towards the other family members.
Yeah, I understand that. I grew to appreciate her over the course of the movie as like probably one of the most tragic figures in it as well. They even talk about how she's not handling this, and the fact that she could see the problem. Like with the daughter, they saw the problem and didn't do anything to stop it, and so they feel the immense guilt and responsibility. She's like, every time she's talking to the husband, every time I look at you, I see Tyler. Like, it's so clear that this was going to happen, and I did nothing, and I feel responsible. And the daughter, she was at that party. She's like, I saw him. I could have stopped him.
But
I was so clear. I froze, and yeah, they have stuff in common with one another. And I even like too, like there's these conversations about the parents, like how much we even pay attention to the daughter. Like, I have to deal with her and you don't. And then when we hear from in the conversation where she's talking to her dad, there's even conversations about like the mom doesn't interact with me as much as as we would think. Because it's that idea of, in this family of people who are trying to be perfect, there's always going to be one who's less seen because they seem fine. Tyler, he needs to be looked after because he's like a boy and he's the firstborn and he's the one with the future and and my daughter, she's doing okay. She's quiet.
She's got a cat.
She's got a cat that does a weird humping thing?
Yeah.
What was that about? You're a cat owner. Tell me that.
Hamlet doesn't hump the ground. He did scratch me. You can see on my thumb. It's been painful.
Well, it's because he's a male cat. Maybe that's the difference.
I think his toxic masculinity.
I think that hers was a female cat.
Maybe.
I think they said she at some point, but maybe I'm
I
wrong.
don't know. It seemed more dog-like to me. I've seen dogs like hump the ground and stuff like that.
Maybe. It wasn't like a full humping. It was very strange. I don't know what was, but I liked it as like a weird
Yeah.
little, again, flavoring of
Little
making this
spasmy
feel
thing.
real.
Yeah.
This family, like, yeah, they've got this lovely house, but they also kind of have like a shitty cat. Not shitty like the one in Elle, the film Elle,
Oh,
but
yeah,
that
yeah.
cat's like an evil shitty cat. This cat's just like kind of mangy. Just something's off with it. They're just like, it's doing its thing again.
Yeah, the daughter's normal and the cat's kind of weird, but everyone else is perfect.
Anything else you want to say about Waves?
I don't have an Instagram, but I would totally follow Luke 1212.
I liked his video.
I love just the name of the account. Like, yeah, it tells you what you need to know. It's Luke.
Yeah, anything else you want to say about Luke? You said you were a fan of his. You enjoyed him.
Yeah, just all the stuff I've said. He's just wears his personality on his sleeve. He ends up being just a totally all right guy as he was presenting himself all along. And yeah, it's interesting because this film, like all of the central characters that we follow throughout it are black. And so suddenly you get this different character with like different way of speaking, different background, and it is in a weird way a kind of I don't want to say breath of fresh air, but like, oh, this is different.
Yeah, he comes in with a different point of view.
Yeah.
We're so entrenched in this family that to see someone else's point of view on it is interesting, because outside of this family, and the girlfriend, there are no characters that are defined. Like, there are teachers in this movie, but they're not real characters. And that's
Dr. Steve.
Like, then this isn't a negative. Like, this, because the movie's like so laser focused on what it's doing, that when we do have to open up more, it does feel like, wow, this is someone else. They have a different point of view. You can have that in this movie, and it's neat.
That's what I meant.
It's neat.
Yeah. The only other thing is, and you mentioned that there were some reviews that were a bit more negative, or just I could see maybe if someone takes the first half of the film differently, maybe that would be a kind of sticking point for people, because like we're talking about how the film earns the fact that we sympathize with the guy who murdered a pregnant girl that was, very beloved. I could see someone watching this film and saying, no, that character is dead to me now. And maybe that would color.
Don't worry, he's not in the movie after that.
That's true.
He's dead to the movie too, basically. No, it's interesting when reading some other comments. Again, try my best not to get absorbed into this, but it's like a lot of style over substance comments. Like the first half felt like a bunch of music videos because it had a bunch of big hit pop songs. He listens to Frank Ocean, and that was the inspiration for the movie, was Frank Ocean's album Blonde. Hence the main character has that blonde hair. You even see that album cover on the Spotify on his phone, like, and that album thematically has a lot in common with this movie. But like, I didn't get any problems like, oh, they play Kanye, they play this. And so a lot of people bring that up as like, this movie is like, we got all the cool songs and it's shot like a music video. And I'm like, I did not feel that way. I felt very differently about it. There was
a song in the second half that kept name dropping Harry Potter characters.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
I didn't even notice.
It was like Scabbers, Peter Pettigrew, like Kill Rats or something like that.
That's great.
I think it's around the time where they jump in the lake.
Oh, that's cute.
Yeah.
That's cute. The main thing I want to say, because we just said it was a good scene, but the poster scene, the one with the dad and the daughter talking to each other and him opening up and her opening up, it's beautifully written, of course, but it's letting those two actors open up in a way that we haven't been afforded to, because the dad, he's very stoic and very emotionally closed off, and that's a given. But with Emily, the daughter, she's also stoic in her own way. Like, she's very introverted. She's very tied. Like her physical posture, like how she holds herself, is very tight. Like, she's wound up in a different way to him. But to see these two, who are both closed off emotionally in their own unique ways, having to realize they're the ones that can open each other up in this moment, was really, really refreshing. Just from a physical acting standpoint, let alone the amazing dialogue and the way it was shot, just physically speaking, you could watch that scene on mute and you can understand
and the fact
what's
that,
going on.
And the fact that like the dad is the one who like first really breaks down is like, oh wow, I thought it'd be the other way around. It's like, no, Dad, I'm handling it fine.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No, you mentioned her, she's introverted, and yeah, you even see that in the first meeting with Luke, where it is kind of surprising that she opens up to him so quickly. It's like, oh wow, you're a bit stronger than I thought. I guess one other thing is that we have a couple of scenes in this film where communication is handled between text messaging.
Oh, so well done, isn't it?
Yeah, when it first started happening, I thought like, because so many films have tried this and kind of failed, like, oh, we're doing this hokey thing of
we're gonna make social media and texting cool.
Yeah, texting, and there were a lot of references to Instagram throughout the film. But yeah, I have to admit, like, it was all actually pretty well done.
Oh yeah, it was very well done. The typos,
yeah,
I like that. Or you could tell.
I actually, there was one, I think it was
ducking.
Yeah, the ducking. I was like, oh, that's a typo. Then I'm like, wait a second. I picked up the keyboard. I'm like, it's literally next to the F.
Yep.
So it's actually pretty clever.
Yeah, it's pretty great. And it was a capitalized D.
Yeah, it's not like it was...
which I liked.
It's not like it was like Q. It's like, no, Q's on the other side. It's D.
No,
Makes
I wasn't too sure. See, you went the extra effort. I was like, is it that thing of the parental locks on phones where certain swears can get changed? Like if you enter it, duck and fuck is one, blah, blah, blah. But I was like, that's fun. Like a lot of little things. I really enjoyed talking about phone usage. After he's been blocked, we see the girlfriend and she's with all of her friends and family and she's getting the photos done and all of that. And we see it slowly zoom out and slowly reveal cracks on the screen. And then you realize it's his smashed up phone and he's watching this on her Instagram. That was such a great transition and incorporating that technology, because over the years on our podcast, we've talked about how movies have had to really, really grapple with mobile phones because it cuts off so many storytelling maneuvers because it's like, well, they have a phone. They can just solve things because they have a phone.
Black Annie is solved by the fact that everyone uses Instagram.
Yeah, we can text people now. But also, like you're saying, we've seen a lot of very interesting, let's just say as a kind way, interesting uses of modern technologies like social media and texting done in movies in a way that feels very hammy, like very stylish, hokey. Maybe one time was cool, but now has been used in such a way that it doesn't feel real. And so this movie, with its style, uses the social media and the phone stuff in a way that makes sense. Like I really love it. It's so true if you're in a relationship as well. My wife does this to me so much. Texting each other, text, and I was like, I'm just gonna ring them and we'll just go this, and then they don't answer, and you're like, why the fuck won't you answer me?
Okay.
Like, and you know, whatever it is, I've had that many times over. I'm like, why are we
I haven't had
discussing this arduous thing through a message? Why can't we just phone each other up? Because you know what it's like. Sometimes when you're talking, you're just like, oh, this is just be easy if I just said it with tone. Like, and I also don't want to have to write a sentence.
I have kind of had that with my mum a couple of times where I tell her something like, oh, this is important, but like, this is it. And it's like everything I needed to say. And then I get mum's calling me. I'm like, okay. And then we talk and like exactly what I told you.
Yeah. Bit different in their situation though.
Yeah. I love my mum, but not the same way you love Rachel.
Or them in this movie where it's like, I'm pregnant. And he's like, can we talk about it? She's like, no.
Yeah. And the drama of like the last time they do it where it's Emily talking to the parent while she's all the way in another state hospital and having to explain like, no, really, I am okay. I'm doing something important. It's like you have to word it the specific, like correct way and to get it across. And like the sincere way that she eventually went with is like, okay, you actually worded that pretty well.
And we delayed the reaction of the mother reading that text too. And then we see her shot, we see there's a genuine relief because, you know, there's a version where it's like this daughter does all this stuff and then she's welcomed back home with anger response. Like, how could you? What have we done with Tyler? No.
And like
they all gel.
Yeah. She doesn't mention like, oh, I have a boyfriend and this happened, because then that'll open up the drama of like, oh, sleazy boyfriend's like using you and he's emotionally manipulated you or something. It's like,
Uh,
no, trust me, I will be home soon.
I recommend this movie. It's great. This was a roller coaster ride, but in an amazing, spectacular way. Again, all of these high praises for it, but I didn't really have any problems with the movie. I really love that it could show you young people fucking up, doing the most horrible things and make you understand it, but then going that extra mile as well and showing you that that's not all teenagers, that's not all young people. Like, there are people like Luke in this world that are just nice people. They're not like sinister monsters. They're not just fuck ups. They're not just anger filled, whatever the case may be. Like, if you just stuck on the Tyler thing, there could be a way of reading this movie as like, oh, look at young people and their ways of fucking up. Oh, like that, a PSA type thing as mentioned.
Yeah.
But the film just goes and goes to say that people are not just this. They are humans. There's more complexities, there's more nuances, there's more facets to them. And by the end, you get to see this family be able to move forward with their lives while still recognizing that a member of their family isn't there anymore with them. And it's not like they've just moved on and like, oh, well, Tyler's not here anymore. Like, the father's still going to church. You can see like he's still taking in the loss, but he's not the same way he was in that conversation that's on that park bench. Like, he's moved, he's developed further.
Yeah, I know we're in recommendations, but another good like duality shot is again the courtroom where you see like, Tyler's family, they're distraught, like our son, 30 years for second degree murder, not involuntary manslaughter, going back to the whole like, it's 10 times harder for us. Seeing them distraught and then cutting to the victim's family also crying. It's like, ooh, they've probably also got it pretty bad.
The daughter can't even look at them in
Yeah,
the eye.
and
She can look at them when they're not looking.
Yeah, and other than like one shot of them later on in the film, like at the grave, like we never get their story. But it goes back to the whole thing of like, we don't know the nuances of everyone, and so, but you can you can imagine what they're going through. I could see some people criticizing like, why aren't we getting like her side of the story, like her family's? But the film has a specific answer for that. This is the story that we want to tell. Considering everything I said in the film, I'm now going to say don't recommend.
Grimsby instead.
Yes, Grimsby instead. But then I'm going to say Psych, which is also like a not. I recommend this film wholeheartedly. This was really, really good.
This was really good. We've encountered a few A24 films over the course of the podcast, and I think in the perception of them, I've watched more than you, so I'm curious what you think of A24. What is your understanding of an A24 movie?
I think we talked about this when we did The Green Knight, but yeah, I think maybe the first one that we did was my recommendation of what's it called, the 20th Century Women.
Yes,
where you were like, oh, this is an A24 film. Like, I know what to expect. And I'm like, I don't. I've heard of A24, but I don't really know what that means. And then contrast that with the beginning of this episode where I said like, oh, I saw the A24 logo and I thought to myself, this is going to be heightened in some way. So yeah, I guess when I see it now, I do think like there is going to be a bit more of like an indie sensibility, not so Hollywood.
Yeah, exactly. So that is that. Now it is time to hear what the listening people's recommendation is. I was looking through the list. I was like, what do you follow this up with? Because how do you pivot? I don't know. And
do we have to follow up?
No. But you know what I mean? Like, sometimes it's weird where you go, all right, everyone, we just watched Waves. Now we're going to do
Zala.
Yeah, no. Like, sometimes it's like weird in my brain to be like, we've just had a very like hefty, good discussion about a movie where we talked about all these issues and so on and so forth, and now we're going to watch 50 Shades of Grey. Something like that would be weird in my mind.
I like that idea, though.
You do love that. That's why you're you, though, and I'm me. But I looked at our list and I saw something that was like, oh, this? And then I clicked on the link and I'm like, oh, not that? Oh, that's a different thing. We're going to take a look at the 2023 film Inside, which stars Willem Dafoe. I know very little about this. I thought it was Inside the Bo Burnham comedic artwork.
Oh, is that the thing that was popular during the pandemic?
Yes.
Yeah.
Because I saw on our list Inside, and I'm like, that's what Inside is, right? That's what it's called, Bo Burnham's Inside, blah, blah, blah. But no. There's a different movie, different thing called Inside that was recommended by Stefan, and it's 2023's Inside with Willem Dafoe in it. And I was like, oh, I know very little about this movie, so let's give this a look. And it's got like a very interesting poster of like Willem Dafoe. Looks like he's standing in an indoor fountain on a skyscraper-like setting. I don't know. We'll have to find out next time on the podcast. So everyone make sure to give that a viewing for yourself. And we'll talk about, most likely reference in that discussion that Willem Dafoe famously has a large penis. It will come up. I will bring it up at some point.
We'll bring up you don't know what the adverb is, though.
Yes, that'll be
Unless you do.
Surprising twist.
Yeah. So, hold on. The last Listening People's Choice film that we did starred an actor that was in The Northman. And now the current one...
In all fairness, you didn't know that.
Yeah.
Somehow you forgot Ethan. Hey, here's something. So, Gattaca starred Ethan Hawke. And I referenced that Ethan Hawke was a star of Dead Poets Society. Dead Poets Society, infamously for teachers, gave everyone the Carpe Diem, seize the day mantra as like a thing in our brains. And this movie, when we go to the classroom with the English teacher, she's like, and remember, kids, and she points above the blackboard, Carpe Diem. See, it's all coming together. It's all coming together. The Northman Dead Poets Society cinematic universe is getting closer and closer with us. The Venn diagram is just a laughing in some way.
And wait a second, in this film, Dr. Steve, like a witch doctor.
That's right.
Like Zala.
Like Zala, there you go. I read randomly, I was looking at the cast, Harmony Korine, the director, well-known director and troll, Harmony Korine, the man who gave us such films as Trash Humpers and Spring Breakers. He was a character in this movie, and I was like, who was he? He was a teacher, but apparently he's in like literally half a frame, and you mainly just hear his voice, and that's it. And people like genuinely like, why did you cast him? Why is he not in the movie? And it was just like, there's no answer. It's just Harmony Korine's in half a frame of this movie, and you mainly hear his voice for like a line.
Well, you have to cast someone.
You have to cast someone. But that is it from us, Bartek. Can you tell the listening people where they can find us and how they can recommend things to us? Give them the old reminder.
Yes, I can. Can you?
I can, but I kind of did it at the start, so you
then,
can give us the closure.
In that case, I shall.
Thank you.
You can find us in many parts of the WWW. The main ones, though, that you can very easily go to are our Facebook page, Spit and Polish Presents. We have a Twitter, Spit and Polish Presents as well. YouTube channel where we upload all these episodes. You might even be there right now listening to this. Hi, look at the like ratio to the dislike.
Yeah,
if
could
you
you
have
please press like?
If you have the add-on to see the dislikes.
Remember when we didn't have to have an add-on for that?
Yeah. And there was a bar that showed you like,
remember that?
Some of it's red. You can find old memes about like, what do these bars look like? They're outdated. You can also watch old YouTube videos that show the old YouTube layout with the 5 stars. If you can somehow give this video 5 stars, please do. But yeah, all our episodes are there. You can comment stuff there. On any of the above, you can recommend something to us and we will read that. And if you want to do it directly, more privately, well, some of them are also private, but you can do that at our email, which is spitandpolished@gmail.com, which is an easy way to directly message us. YouTube also used to have direct messages. That's long gone.
When did they get rid of that?
I don't know. It was a long time.
Was it because of kids' YouTube?
No, I think that was way before.
Way before kids' YouTube?
Yeah, it's funny. It's funny. I've watched a couple of people who make videos that are parodies of the Irate Gamer from way back in like the late 2000s.
The iconic Irate
Gamer. The iconic Irate Gamer. And they do show like old YouTube layouts and like, the private message he once sent. And, this is my parody of that private message on the, screen sharing, like them typing it in the YouTube message, sending things like, man, YouTube had a lot of features that just are gone.
They're gone because Google ruined it all. You can always blame Google, I guess.
A recommendation, everyone. Check out Third Rate Gamer. That's a funny one.
There you go.
But yeah, message us recommendations. We like those. And they might even be the next episodes after Ryan episodes.
Ooh. Ooh, spooky.
Good point, Ryan. We also do spooky films in October, so chuck us those too.
And pretty much a decade ago now, we did dog films. Could you give us some more dog movies?
Yeah, a decade and 2 months at this point, I reckon.
So
and by 2 months, I mean 3.
Give us some dog movies. Powwow.
Yeah, Ryan missed out on 3 of them. Recommend us 3 dog films to fill the Ryan gap in dog.
If there's
month.
any with little Bow Wow in them, you get an extra bonus point.